Everyone, it's your buddy and pal Karnak, Star Wars Armada Explained. Today we're going to be looking at Y-Wings for the Rebel Alliance in Star Wars Armada. So the Y-Wings, as I like to call them, is why bring Y-Wings? Well, for what their cost is, what they accomplish, they're a really great little nifty craft. It's not terribly expensive. So let's dive right in to the Rebel Alliance Y-Wing. So the Rebel Alliance Y-Wing, in a standard 400-point game, you can bring 134 points in squadrons. The generic versions of the Y-Wings here, you can bring as many of them as you have point limit you can have. Bottom left-hand corner of the card, you're going to see the icon there for the squadron. Opposite that, you're going to see how many points they cost, which is only 10 points. Very reasonable for a squadron. That, as you can see, going from left to right, it has a speed of up to distance 3, so distance 1 to 3 is its movement. It has 6 holes, so quite beefy. It throws 2 blue die for its anti-squadron armament, and then it has 1 black die for its anti-ship armament. It has the same keywords as the TIE Bomber, in that it has the Bomber keyword, and it has the Heavy keyword. The Bomber keyword is just while this squadron is attacking a ship, each of your critical icons adds 1 damage to the damage total, and you can resolve a critical effect. And also Heavy being you do not prevent engaged squadrons from moving, from attacking ships or moving. So let's break down the keywords real quick. Typically, when a squadron, like for example a TIE fighter, is attacking, when they've rolled their attack die, only the regular hit icons will do any damage. But for a squadron that has bomber, for example, this Y-Wing here, when it throws the black die, which, hey, it threw a hit crit on the first roll. Let me just bring another die out here. Oop, that's not what I wanted. There we go. So you can see there that typically when Squadron, when they throw a hit, on one of these colored die, just the hit icon is 1 damage. But again, if they have the bomber keyword, any critical icons, like for example the black die here has a hit and critical icon on it, that counts as 2 damage. And if they're attacking a ship that doesn't have any shields remaining, and that damage is suffered to that ship's hull, you can resolve a critical effect on that ship, which is drawing a face-up damage card. So in terms of what is heavy and what does heavy do, so heavy is, for example, if this Y-Wing was engaged with this TIE fighter, which does not have heavy, this Y-Wing would not be able to attack a ship in range unless there's some other effect or ability, etc. going on, like Intel, for example, which we'll cover at certain points later. But essentially, Y-Wings with heavy can attack ships. They can only attack other squadrons. And they also can't move away from the squadrons that they're engaged with. But this TIE fighter, because it doesn't have heavy, it can attack ships if it wanted to, or it could fly away. So that is what the heavy keyword does. So Y-Wings, for 10 points, they are amazing, tough little craft. And they are way superior than the Imperial TIE Bomber. Why is that? Well, they have the potential to do 2 damage with the 2 blue die. And they still are throwing a black die for anti-squadron. Now, the TIE Bomber, sure, it's got speed 4, but it's only 5 hull. And yeah, it's 9 points, but it's still only throwing the 1 black die. What it means is that any time that something is obstructed, they can't shoot it, they can't kill it. They're just TIE Bombers compared to Y-Wings. Not as good in the anti-squadron game, especially when these Y-Wings are backed by Tor and Far. They can get rerolls. They're just neat. They're neat little craft. So again, like for example, we'll have this Y-Wing attacking the TIE fighter there. He throws the 2 blue die. Hey, he got the 2 hits. Pretty much almost murdering that TIE fighter right off. And again, the TIE fighter only throws 3 blue die itself. So even if it was to land all 3 hits back on the Y-Wing, that Y-Wing still has a ton of hull, 3 hull left that he would have to dedicate at least 1 to 2 other TIE fighters to kill 1 Y-Wing, when typically for Alliance all you ever need is maybe 2 Y-Wings to kill a TIE fighter, for the damage average. So that's just, Y-Wings are just really good. I really, really like the Y-Wing. So that is the Y-Wing. There's nothing, for the generic version, nothing crazy going on there, nothing else you need to really know about, other than, again, when it flies up to attack ships, its anti-ship armament deals damage on the critical icons. Alright. Next up, we've got the gold standard. We've got Gold Squadron. So Gold Squadron, is a unique squadron. You see there by the little dotted bullet point in front of its name. It has some a little bit different stats than the other Y-Wings in that this costs 12 points, but it loses that heavy keyword. It's now bomber. It still only throws a 2 blue die for anti-squadron, but now it has 2 blue die for anti-ship. And you might be thinking, well, how is that any better or worse than 1 black die? Again, the double allows you to shoot through obstacles. You know, if you're obstructed, for example, like this, and you're trying to shoot that ship, you know, you can still at least throw 1 die to attack that target. And also just it's essentially, it's a Slayer. It's, in my opinion, it's slightly higher odds of getting double damage, also getting those critical icons, which are very important for in terms of you're trying to push crits through. Its Gold Squadron is also super useful for just suddenly leaping it forward and tying up a bunch of squadrons unexpectedly, because now they have to try to fight and kill this thing that's got 6 hull. It just makes them take time. Otherwise, if there aren't any enemy squadron that you need it to just pop into, it still can chase down and deal, you know, really good damage anti-ship wise. So Gold Squadron is just a really good squadron. There's not much more to really say about that. It's pretty much, if you've got the point cost for it and you don't know what else to take Gold Squadron. They fit in pretty much every list. All right, next up we've got the Dutch man himself, Dutch Vander. Again, he's unique. You can only have 1 of him in your fleet. He comes with some of the same stats as a Y-Wing. He's 16 points, has the double braces. Again, he has the bomber and the heavy keywords. He throws 3 blue die for anti-squadron, though. Has the black die for anti-ship. Now, his card ability is pretty unique. So when a squadron you attack suffers at least 1 damage, you may toggle its activation slider to the activated slide. If it was already activated, it suffers 1 additional damage instead. Dutch does have a FAQ. It reads, if Dutch Vander is attacking and the defender does not suffer damage, but another enemy squadron does, due to resolve an effect such as Big Starklighter, Dutch Vander's effect does not toggle the defender's activation slider, nor would they take that extra damage. So what am I implying or mean by all this? Let's dive in. So Dutch's ability is, I mean, pretty straightforward. For example, let's say I am flying up, I'm attacking this TIE fighter. And when I draw a line of sight to attack that TIE fighter, if I throw the 3 blue die, and you see there I have at least 2 damage showing, this TIE fighter is not able to reduce, move, or otherwise stop this 2 damage from hitting him. So he will suffer 2 damage, and not only that, because he's unactivated, his toggle then is switched to the activated side, meaning that Dutch has now activated that squadron, and that squadron no longer essentially gets to do anything. So Dutch is great for attacking a pinpoint squadron that you know is like really going to hurt you a lot, and just knocking them out of the fight completely. Or in the case of Imperial Aces, like for example, we'll say that this TIE fighter has a scatter token. We'll say that somebody else had already attacked him and they had locked a scatter. He braced, he took 1 damage, for example. And then Dutch flies up. If Dutch is able to roll, let's see if I just get it here from rolling this. And I do. So if Dutch is able to roll an accuracy to lock that scatter, so he'll say, oh, you can't scatter, so he'll take that 1. Or we'll say that, excuse me, the squadron was already activated. So he'll take not only the 1 damage from the 1 damage showing there, but then Dutch's secondary ability is, well, if their activation slider is already toggled, you straight up deal an additional damage to that target. And then that TIE Fighter ace is dead. Dutch is lethal to TIE Fighter aces. He just straight murder TIE Fighter aces, and you gotta really watch out and be careful of him, because yeah, he'll just target your most valuable squadron and just lock it down for the entire game. Because I'm gladly willing to trade 16 points for not only locking down somebody like Merrick Steele or Mora Key, but then again that squadron's activated, it can't do anything, it's not contributing to the fight at all, while Dutch is still plinking away with his 3 blue die. So he's just super good. A lot of people love using him in tandem with like Wedge Antilles, which if you watch my X-Wing video, Wedge Antilles, if he attacks an activated squadron, he's throwing the 6 blue die. So a lot of people will fly Dutch up, and try to toggle the activation slider of the squadron that they really don't like, and then Wedge flies in and just blows it apart. Very brutal, very effective combination there. So I feel like I've identified and explained that. So what does it mean by the Biggs thing? So Biggs Darklighter special ability is if squadrons with escort are being attacked, you can move 1 damage to another squadron. So for example, we'll say just real quick, if these were X-Wings and they all had like 2 health left, or we'll say this one has got 1 health left, and Dutch flies up and attacks this, then let's say they're all activated, and he flies up and attacks this TIE fighter here, and let's just say that he rolled his 3 die, but he had only rolled 1 damage. Well, if you take that damage of Biggs Darklighter and you move it from the one X-Wing that has escort to a different X-Wing that has escort, what it's meaning is that that squadron is not suffering any damage at all. You don't activate his activation slider, and actually the squadron that he moved the damage to doesn't get activated by Dutch's ability either, because again, it's only the squadron you attack that suffers at least 1 damage. So that's kind of just a really quirky rules reading of, well, technically the squadron you attacked didn't suffer damage. That squadron suffered the damage, but that's technically not the squadron you attacked. Therefore, you don't get to use Dutch's ability to toggle or deal extra damage. So I want to make sure I was being clear on that. All right, and if it's not, leave some comments and messages. I'm more than happy to walk it through in greater detail. Okay, that's Dutch. Next up, we've got Nora. So Nora Wexley, she's the mother of Snap Wexley in the new Star Wars movies. So Nora is again unique. You can only bring one of her in your fleet. She costs 17 points, and I'm not sure if I mentioned Dutch was 16, but Dutch is 16. Nora is 17. Again, 3 blue anti-squadron dice and 1 black anti-ship die. Again, no heavy keyword here, so she just has bomber, so she's good for if you need to throw into a dogfight temporarily. She definitely can be decent enough at that. Her special ability is friendly squadrons with bomber at distance 1 gain critical. The defending hull zone loses 1 shield. What is her special ability and how does it work? She does have 1 slight FAQ comment in regards to Luke Skywalker. If you want to see more detail what that is, go watch my X-Wing videos. It's explaining there Luke Skywalker and why there's some interesting wording between him and Nora. But Nora, so if she flies up to attack this Star Destroyer, for example, and because is it her or is it another squadron? What does that say again? Friendly squadron. So yeah, including herself. So if she flies up to attack that Star Destroyer, and we'll say that she does roll the hit crit that is needed, so she's dealing 2 damage right now. So the Star Destroyer normally would just, if he want to just take it in the face, or if you want to redirect, that's fine. He takes the 2 damage to the front. But if you say then, you didn't contain, or you can't contain this unless you have like damage control officer, or some other card effect. But essentially, like, hey, I'm triggering my critical effect of the defending hull zone loses 1 shield. So you suffered that 2 damage. Now the critical effect comes into play, or not that you suffered 2 damage. Let's go through the steps completely. Nora actually, the critical effects, remember in the resolve damage step, critical effects happen first thing before damage is applied, braced, redirected, etc. So Nora would fly up, do the hit crit, and say, hey, are you going to use the defensive tokens? The Star Destroyer is going to say, nope, not using any defensive tokens. Nora then goes, cool, I'm triggering my critical effect. That first damage it suffers is first from Nora's ability, where the defending hull zone loses 1 shield, and then it would suffer the 2 damage from her ability. Why did I back up to make sure I was explaining that correctly? Because in the case, for example, of the Star Destroyer, if it had decided it wanted to use brace and redirect, and it just moved 1 damage to the side on its right hull zone over here, the critical effect would still plink a damage into the shield first thing. So the shield damage from her ability always happens first, because what some people try to say is, for example, if there's only like 1 shield left in the remaining hull zone, they would be like, oh yeah, I only took 1 damage, okay, her ability doesn't work anymore. It's like, well, no, again, criticals happen first thing, so if there was only 1 shield there, her ability would strip the shield off, and then a damage, 2 damage would get pumped in past the shield unless it was redirected. So again, that's why I backed up to make sure I was explaining that correctly. Just remember, critical effects always resolve first unless something else states otherwise, and then it's followed up by the damage, either that damage being reduced or redirected or what else have you. So that is Nora Ability, and you really don't see her too often, just because for the most part, for 17 points, sometimes you want to bring some other kinds of bombers. Maybe you're not wanting to spend more points on essentially what is just like, oh, it's an occasional extra damage, and you want something that's throwing, for example, double bomber dice like Ywings or some other squadrons. So that's why you don't see her on the table too often. But there are certain meta builds where they bring her in a bunch of Y-wing bombers, and they will quickly strip the shields off. Larger ships. It's all designed. That's what they're designed to do, is just try to get those shields knocked off as quickly as possible, so then that they can start getting critical effects into the ship. Because again, her ability is any squadron with bomber at distance 1. If they have the critical effect, they're stripping shields. So it's not just Y-wings, but B-wings, X-wings, any other type of card where if they've got the keyword bomber, she's helping to benefit them to strip shields off. So that is Ywings. Of course, if you feel like I missed anything or got anything wrong, please be sure to point it out. Let me know. Appreciate you guys watching the video. And hey, I hope you guys enjoy the new year. I'll see you next time.